We just want to play a part that matters, that means something, that does our little part in helping the world be a better place. Forgiveness is the center of it. Once we see it through the proper eyes, anger and resentment won't make sense anymore.
Well, the kind of forgiveness that we're talking about here, that is a big, heavy, emotional lift. And that's what a good, solid spiritual practice can give you, is the spiritual muscles to make the lift of forgiveness.
Whatever kind of challenges we face each day, maybe in those tiny ones, we too can feel that we are not really hurt, and that gives us room to forgive and to love.
But loving in the face of an attack is actually one of the hardest things that we can do here. What's needed to heal is individuals, a collection, a collective of individuals who can do this so that we can take the world to a higher place.
It's going to be millions and billions of small acts of kindness that add up. Rather than forgiving in spite of what really happened, you forgive out of an understanding of what was real in what happened.
If we could get to a place where forgiveness is of value, then we're well on our way to the kind of healing we've been talking about.
America Lost and Found is about learning how to live in the found energy, even while something is still missing, challenging, or out of reach. How to focus forward without bypassing pain and the lessons. Our guests have learned to use loss to rise above circumstances and have found new ways of seeing. Robert Perry has taught A Course in Miracles since 1986, sharing its message throughout North America and internationally. He founded the Circle of Atonement in 1993 and is widely respected as a Course teacher and scholar. He is the author of numerous books, including An Introduction to A Course in Miracles and Path of Light, and served as lead editor of the complete and annotated edition of A Course in Miracles, restoring the original words from Helen Schuchman's handwritten notes. Emily Perry is the executive director of the Circle of Atonement, leading all aspects of advancing its mission. She is a teacher of A Course in Miracles and co-host of the Circle's podcast. Exploring A Course in Miracles prior to joining the Circle, she led spiritual intelligence and mindful leadership. Those were programs for Fortune 500 companies. Emily is the author of 3 books, including Miracles at Work, with a foreword by Marianne Williamson. Please welcome Robert and Emily. Hey, everybody. Welcome, Robert and Emily Perry. I'm so excited to talk to you guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
we're excited to be here.
Oh, I don't get to see you in person anymore. It's been so long. I've known Robert for, what'd you say, 42 years?
I think we met in '84 in La Mirada at the Holiday Inn, Luz 2.
We were wait staff.
We were wait staff.
Food servers, as they say these days.
Kids.
Just kids. And I've called him my brother forever. And I do feel like we have some kind of kinship, even though I'm pretty sure we're not related. But out of all the people that we worked with back then, or even that was within my first year or so of living in California, you're the only one I keep in contact with from all that time ago.
Wow.
So that must say something about you. Or me.
Well,
or both of us.
There's something there. There is some
stuff.
kind of quasi-family connection.
Yes. And so, Emily, that makes you my sister-in-law. So sorry about that.
I'll take it. I love it. It's an honor.
So I'm so excited to talk to you guys, but I wanted to read this because in 1996, I was having a really hard time. And my partner at the time, which I did not know this or remember this until today, called Robert and said, Janelle's having a really hard time. She needs help. And you sent me a letter about that you had talked to him for the first time ever, and how sincere he was. And you also sent me a packet on forgiveness because you had just done a forgiveness notebook. I still have this. I've been saving it all these years because it meant so much to me.
Oh my goodness.
And you also sent me a one sheet of all of Jesus's sayings. Well, not all of them, but some important ones. And this one, every time I read it, I am in tears, and it reaches to the inner core of me. So that's why I wanted to start out with this. If you want to be like me, I will help you, knowing that we are alike. If you want to be different, I will wait until you change your mind. I can teach you, but only you can choose to listen to my teaching. How else can it be if God's kingdom is freedom? And the thing that really gets to me is I grew up in the church, and more of charismatic church. But Jesus really got my attention. He really did. And I wanted to be like Jesus so bad. And I didn't get the scary God thing. Like I'd shake in church when they do the hellfire and brimstone. But Jesus, I was like, oh, he loves us. He accepts us. And so I really wanted to be like Jesus my whole life. And when I read that, it was like, oh, he's waiting for me to catch up. It just hit me in such a place. And I've carried that with me all these years. And I have your book here, Robert, too. I brought it. And this means a lot to me. And I know that it means a lot to you. It's so many years of work and perseverance. And America Lost and Found is about the things that we do that maybe are not acknowledged or known about. We were just talking before we got on that, we know how not to promote. We know how to be invisible. And yet you have done all of these things out of passion, out of your heart, out of purpose. And to think that I could reach back in time and find something that you sent me in 1996 that still makes a difference to me today is a testament to your purpose. And I'm crying right now because that is what we're here for. It's not about this huge thing where we become famous and we finally are able to pay our bills without having to struggle, or, finally we're recognized. You are recognized by me, and I'm not the only one. And this whole forgiveness thing, I feel like it's and I think you've told me this before, but I feel like it's the core of the course. And you know way more about it than I do. I certainly, I'm a kindergartner or preschooler, comparatively. But at this time in history, where there's so much divide, and I see all the time on social media, and I hear it in my ears in person, I will never forgive them for choosing this person. And I see people saying it's okay if those people die because they're against us, they're not on our team. And I think society, we're setting ourselves up for the Course in Miracles, a way to forgive. How do we forgive these long-term things? And for me, dealing with the families of the missing, there's a lot of long-term, it's somebody bumps you or hits you on purpose, And then they go, yeah, I shouldn't have done that. Will you forgive me? But if they keep hitting you on purpose, or if you have a long-term thing that just doesn't go away, that you have to keep working on the forgiveness, I think that's what I'm asking about. How do we apply that? How do we do that? And I see right here on this first page, forgiveness is both something we learn over time and an instant miracle. There's a process we go through, sometimes a long one, in which we are learning forgiveness. Really, we are unlearning all of our imaginary reasons for withholding love. Wow. We are unlearning all of our imaginary reasons for withholding love. Tell me about this. How do we do this? I know it's a big ask.
There's a lot of things that what you've just said trigger in me. I think before getting to the forgiveness thing, I have to say that there are just certain people, and I know you and I are like this, Emily is like this as well, for whom purpose, having a meaningful purpose, is just everything. And it may not be, as you said, about I'm famous and I'm rich and all that. It's that we just want to play a part that matters, that means something, that does our little part in helping the world be a better place. So it's interesting that you mentioned that. Um, I think for your viewers or listeners, the little bit of background we should give is that Emily and I teach a spiritual path, as you know, Janelle, called A Course in Miracles. And it's got a very unusual backstory. It was dictated by an inner voice to a Columbia University psychologist in the 60s and 70s who was more or less an atheist. Um, and what came out of that dictation process was a whole spiritual path with an extensive teaching, with instructions for daily practice, and with teaching about how to take your part in the saving of the world, the healing of the world. So that's what our spiritual path is. That's what we teach to other people. That's the quote that you read is from A Course in Miracles. And the Course has, you're right, the forgiveness is the center of it. And it has a really interesting and I think quite profound teaching on forgiveness, where normally we think, well, they did a terrible thing. They may well be a terrible person. But for the sake of being good, for the sake of my own mental health, I'm going to forgive them anyway. And what the Course says is, okay, well, they may have done something that felt very hurtful, and they may have been very intentional about it, and like you say, repeatedly. But our feelings of anger and resentment are based on a misperception, maybe not of the details of what they did, but a misperception of what reality is all about. And if we could see what is truly real, we would see that what they did doesn't actually have power to hurt us. Ultimately, what hurts us is how we interpret it, the meaning that we give it. We would see that who we really are as God created us is invulnerable, it can't be hurt. And we would see that who they are as God created them is eternally pure. They can't actually tarnish their real identity with the things they've done, even though it seems that way. And we would see that their attack on us was not an act of strength, but was really a call for help, that they feel lacking of love inside, um, that what they did made them feel even more lacking of love inside. And all of that means that they're in a state of needing help, and that our love can be that help. So, what the Course does is it gives us a framework in which we see reality differently so that we can see what they did differently and let go of the, once we see it through the proper eyes, anger and resentment won't make sense anymore.
That's really good. I um I wonder when someone does something to you physically that alters your physical body, um, so that it is not as useful, you're not as able bodied as you were before. Is that the same process?
Do you want
Well,
to go ahead, Emily?
yeah, I can go ahead and speak to that. I think that part of what Robert's describing in the path of the Course is the ability it gives you to see on two different levels. One level is the spiritual level, and Robert was just describing this, where there is a reality in which we exist as spirit and nothing can ultimately harm us in our true reality, in our true nature. It doesn't matter what happens to the body, your spirit remains pure, innocent, holy, and whole, always, eternally. And yet, we also experience ourselves in these bodies and we experience what happens to these bodies. And so you have to hold these two things as true at the same time, that you can't ultimately be hurt. And when your body is being hurt, there are things to do. And for us, any form of abuse, any form, whether it's physical or emotional, is time to leave, to remove yourself from that situation. But that does not mean that the practice of forgiveness can't apply. That is the lesson you mentioned Jesus earlier. That's the lesson that Jesus came to teach us. His ultimate lesson is, I believe, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. Here is someone who is hanging from the cross, who is able to forgive those who attacked him, murdered him. And if he could do that, we have that capacity to forgive inside us as well. That does not excuse bad behavior by any stretch. You can know that in your true self, you're healed, holy, and whole, and hold people accountable for what they do on the level of form. Both of these things exist at the same time. But at the end of the day, what we're meant to do in the path of the Course is get to that place where we're not bound to the grievance of what happens to us in the level of form, that we can go beyond it. And that's ultimately a very freeing place to be.
I like
I
that.
want to
So,
add
oh,
something.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, so basically, you don't make that your story. Your story is that you are whole.
Right.
Yes.
You don't make
Right.
it, I'm broken because of this person. And that's your story. And always, you know,
You
wearing
side with
that.
the part of you that's always healed, holy, and
Okay.
whole.
And I'm thinking that in your teaching, that's a daily thing. That's not a, oh, I got it. It's something that we have to keep revisiting.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
That's not an idea that you can just flip a light switch in the mind and you get it. It comes from learning to forgive in little ways that then become learning to forgive in bigger ways, that we call forgiveness a muscle, right? It's the idea, if you go into the gym and you have a big barbell in front of you, you have to physically train your muscles to pick that up. Well, the kind of forgiveness that we're talking about here, the kind of forgiveness that you've had to do in your life, that everyone has to do at some point in their life, that is a big, heavy emotional lift. And you have to have the kind of emotional training, spiritual training to make that kind of lift. And that's what a good solid spiritual practice can give you is the attitudinal muscles, the spiritual muscles to make the lift of forgiveness.
I love that. That's really good. Robert, you were going to say something?
What I was going to say is that the A Course in Miracles basically teaches a daily discipline where you're reading the teachings, you're doing an internal practice in different forms throughout the day. And through that, it's like you're going to the gym. So the idea is over time, you become more advanced in being able to hold a state of love, even in the face of what we would call adverse circumstances. And when you're really far advanced, you can do what Jesus did. The Course has its own really unique interpretation of the meaning of the crucifixion of Jesus. Its interpretation is not that that was him paying off humanity's sins, but it was him demonstrating that even under really extreme conditions, he could still feel immune to what was going on, what was being done to him and to his body. And so the reason he was defenseless in the crucifixion was because he didn't feel like anything real was being done to him. And the idea was not that he's calling us to go out there and get ourselves killed and crucified and all that, but he's basically showing that if he could do that in a really extreme situation, then maybe we can follow that example when somebody insults us, gives us the side eye, you know, whatever kind of challenges we face each day. Maybe in those tiny ones, we too can feel that we are not really hurt, and that gives us room to forgive and to love.
So it sounds like it's about taking it personally. So Jesus didn't take it personally. He didn't say that, he didn't take it to his ego, basically, is what it
Yeah,
feels like to me.
yeah,
And he understood that they didn't really know what they were doing. They didn't get it. And they were doing it out of, like you were explaining earlier, they had their own need. They needed attention for that need, and it came out in their action. Is that
yeah.
kind of?
Yeah, I mean, I think from the standpoint of the course, the main thing people don't know is that the attacks they carry out are not resulting in gain for them. They're actually resulting in loss
Mm.
for them. Even if the gain is material, if that's there, they still lose in the most important, essential way in terms of their own internal well being. Um, and so, not knowing what they're doing is they don't understand they're hurting themselves.
And also, one of the criticisms of this idea that you love in the face of attack is that it just lets attackers get away with their abusive behavior. And I can speak to that really briefly. Number one, it's the criticism is that this is a soft response to attack, but loving in the face of an attack is actually one of the hardest things that we can do here. I consider that to be a spiritual pinnacle. That's what Jesus was able to achieve, to be loving in the face of an attack. But at the same time, if Gandhi was right, right, an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. And so all we get if we meet attack with attack is a world that's just full of attack. And guess what? That's what we have. And so what we need to heal this place is people who are equipped to say, I see that you're attacking, and I'm going to see beyond that behavior to the lack of love that this is an expression of, and I'm going to see you truly and love you anyway, hard, And that's the thing from a course perspective that's going to change the world. And I say from a course perspective, but we know this within ourselves, right? We know that if we meet attack with attack, then we're just becoming the very thing we oppose. And the world doesn't progress that way, it spirals backwards. And so, what's needed to heal is individuals, a collection, a collective of individuals who can do this so that we can take the world to a higher place.
That makes perfect sense. The attacks do just continue to increase as long as they're happening, right? Nobody stops. Everyone keeps going. And I remember last year around this time, I was distraught trying, because I'm a purpose-driven person like you. And I thought I have to do something. I don't know what. It's going to be small. I'm not famous, but I have to do something to make our country better, to make it better for our kids coming up, for their kids and their kids and their kids. You know, I felt like all of this happened on my watch, and I had to take responsibility for that, even though, you know, I didn't necessarily choose it, but it was happening. I might not have been paying attention enough, but and for sure I wasn't. And so I every day would rack my brain. I would watch every angle, every person's opinion that you could find, and listen and listen and listen and try to find out, how did this happen and what is going on. And I just got so depressed. I don't think I've ever been that depressed in my life, to the point where I just, like, as soon as I was done with work for the day, I was done. Like, I could barely even sit up. And I went, I got to do something different. So I decided I was going to work on me, that I needed to have the cleanest house I could possibly have. And I'm the only one that can do that. And I need to be strong in case an idea came for me to do something. And I've been doing that for months. And the only thing I have come up with yet is to introduce the idea, and it's on social media and in person, introduce the idea that maybe we don't know everything that made the left think the way that they're thinking. And maybe we don't know everything that makes the right think what they're thinking. And maybe our leaders, perhaps they don't care enough about the divide to tell us everything that they need to tell us. They leave out little things, because it's a human thing. We all say what makes us look the best, right? When we're in an argument, when we're presenting ourselves, we say whatever makes us look the best. And so if that's how our government is presenting themselves, and then we've got media doing that, there's nobody in the middle. And I realize I'm not much of anybody, but I thought, at least if I could get one or two people to start thinking beyond their side, that it would be something. And I actually have been practicing the course as far as forgiveness, and in my mind, forgiving everyone on the planet for this mess that we're in. You know, anybody that comes to mind, any person I've heard voice something, to just know exactly what it says in the course, that it is coming from a place of need. They are acting out of a place of need. There is some hurt there that is not being fulfilled. And the more that they try to grab power and money and whatever it is, voice, side, the more it shows me how much in pain they are. And it gave me such compassion. And I have really the course to thank for that. And I want to see what you have to say about that process. I'm just dipping my toe in the water. I'm not super good at it yet, but I'm trying. It's most recently.
I'm so happy that you're having those thoughts, because we're in a situation right now where we're not going to get out of the collective mess that we're in with a couple shining superstars. We're going to get out of this through everyone doing their part. Everyone has a part to play. And if we do our part, everyone's part is small, some parts are big, but for the most part, we are each grabbing our oar and rowing the whole thing forward. And if everyone does that, we will get through this, and future generations, our kids' kids, will look back and say they were not the generation that blew it on their watch, right? And the way we get there is by not being angry peace workers. And if we allow ourselves to be consumed by the fear and the rage and the grievance, then we're just going to get out there and meet oppression with the tools of oppression, hate. And that doesn't work. And so we have to come at this from a new place, which is the only thing that we're certain about. You mentioned certainty. The only thing that we can be certain about is only love is real. And anything beyond that is up for debate. And proceed with that humility, but also proceed with that force of love, because love is both humble and forceful.
I think what you're talking about, Janelle, is great because Emily and I really believe in these principles, and it's hard to watch what's happening in our country and just be in a state of forgiveness. So, I really honor what you've been doing.
It is hard. I right before COVID, I'm a walker, so when I walk, I don't meditate like a lot of people meditate. I just haven't. But on my walks, I meditate. That's my go-to place to connect with the divine spirit, creator, Jesus. And I get lots of insights. And I was walking a lot before COVID happened. I didn't know it was going to happen. And I didn't hear an audible voice, but it was something that said you need to memorize Psalm 91 and pray protection over people. And so I have this really long prayer list that I would go through on my walk. And once you're on my prayer list, you're on it. It's in my mind, and I have it different. It's like a piece of paper, and I just keep adding, and I do it in a certain order. And so I was praying protection over all those people, but then I go to the city, the state, the country, the world, And I don't exactly know the date on when this came, but it was within the last year or two. It seems like I've been doing it for a long time, but it was, don't just pray for protection anymore. Now it's for protection of the purpose of each individual. And so when I started praying that for our elected leaders, everything fell away. When I prayed that for anyone who had done me any wrong, or I felt like I needed to really work on that forgiveness, it was just like, it just fell away. Because when I pray for someone's purpose to be protected, it takes me out of the mix. I'm not asking for something for me, or being critical, or saying they're wrong, so I'm praying that they figure out how to be right, I'm just praying that their purpose is protected and that it's fulfilled. And I have no idea what their purpose is, right? I don't know. How am I supposed to know? And that has opened such a world of forgiveness for me. And, I feel like the Course opened this forgiveness. Even though I read the Bible as a kid and I was taught not to judge and to forgive, it we didn't have a course on it. Just you're supposed to do it, but not how do you do it. So the Course really taught me how to do it. And then this most recent thing was just like, whoa, that's like magic. I'm just praying for everyone's purpose to be protected and supported and connected to the divine. Oh, that's easy. It's so simple. And, it's our spiritual journey, I feel like, it's steps. And we learn one layer and we think, whew, I got it. But I've learned not to do that anymore because I don't have it. I don't know anything. I just, have some tools. They just keep handing me more tools and more ways to get to the next step. And I appreciate that Robert has hung in there with me all these years, all of our conversations of all the hills and valleys that I have gone through. He's always been the voice of reason and that I hear over here.
He's good at that.
Yeah, he is so calm.
Janelle, I'll jump into what you said and piggyback on it. For anyone who's thinking, what is my purpose right now? What am I supposed to do right now? I think you've tapped into something that's very important. If you can't meditate, and I'm someone who doesn't meditate very well. Robert meditates differently than me. He's more of a sit and receive kind of person. But I have found so much more benefit personally in using the time to pray and give and extend. And so that is something everyone can do right now. And I sincerely believe that our prayers and our sending out of protection, of purpose and love really does have an effect that we can't see, but we can trust is real. And so for anyone who's thinking, I don't know what to do, stop, walk, and send blessing out to the world and to others who really need it right now. And maybe it will, in ways that you can't see or ways that you can, will give them the strength to be part of the repair that is needed right now.
I love that. That was perfect. And on the purpose point, I know we feel, we're very purpose-driven people, but I really feel, especially since I've been praying that way, that everybody has a purpose. Every individual is here on this planet for a reason. They're part of the human body. And, most of the time I feel, and I said this earlier today, but most of the time I feel like I'm just like this little tiny cell on my little toe, of the world. And I'm the one that gets stubbed, which is fine because then I keep the whole body from falling or whatever, I'm like protecting. But it doesn't matter if our purpose is big or small. It just matters that we do it. And you might not know what your purpose is, but I love that, something is simple, but it's actually, I think it's one of the biggest things we can do is to send out blessing and love and, goodwill to our fellow man. I think that is maybe the biggest thing. We're not going to be on the nightly news or get paid for it, but that's not the point of being here. We're living in this day and age where fame is huge, but it hasn't always been that way. We've been communities. Let's be community again. Let's know our neighbor. That's our purpose, is whoever we meet each day. That's easy. I don't think my purpose is to find missing people and to have a podcast and to be a singer-songwriter. I don't think that's my purpose. I think my purpose is just to be present where I'm at and be available. And when I'm unforgiving or thinking, about fighting you back, somebody back, like, oh, what? Then I have lost my purpose in that moment because I am tapping into ego and humanness And I'm not going to give love back to that person. I'm going to give whatever my ego says back. And I love that the Course teaches that we have options. We have a choice in every moment. We have a choice.
The Course teaches that every encounter is a holy encounter, meaning every encounter is an opportunity to be an expression of love. And what if we viewed every encounter that we have, whether it's the gas station attendant or the barista at Starbucks or our mother-in-law or whoever it was that has harmed us, what if we viewed every encounter as an opportunity to be part of the healing of the world? That's all we're really doing here. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm a big fan of near-death experiences. And one of my favorite ones is the story of a man named Howard Storm. And many years ago, he was an art professor, staunch atheist. He took a bunch of students out to France and had some medical emergency while in France. And so during his near-death experience, he has this amazing encounter with Jesus, who he did not believe in. And he says to Jesus, when I return to the body, I know what I want to do. I'm going to build this massive shrine to you, Jesus. And it will be so big and bizarre that people will come from all over the world and wonder, what the heck is this thing? And they'll discover it's about Jesus. And Jesus said something like, I wish you wouldn't do that. And he said, I know people love building shrines, but it doesn't do anything for me. I wish you wouldn't do that. And so Howard Storm says, well, what do you want me to do? And basically he wants to do something that will help the world. And Jesus says, love the person you're with. And they have this whole long, it's a brilliant conversation in which Howard Storm basically says, how does that save the world? Right? That's not enough. And Jesus is saying, well, there's millions of people who are part of this plan. And all the angels are part of this plan too. And if you just do that, and if all these people who are part of the plan just do that, then it will save the world. And he says, it's going to happen. It's inevitable. And it's I just think back on that a lot.
So simple and so brilliant.
It's so simple because, yes, there are people who are massive movers and shakers who make have a big influence and change history. But in the end, what's going to save the world is not just those people. It's going to be millions and billions of small acts of kindness that add up.
That's a beautiful story. I love that. That's really good. Howard Storm, you said?
Howard Storm. If you look it up on YouTube, you might even look up a video called Love the Person You're With.
Okay.
It's such a brilliant conversation. It's amazing.
It sounds like it. Wow. I had something I was going to say, but it slipped out because I'm trying to listen so intently that when you get to the end, I'm like, oh, I forgot. So I'm here. Do you have anything that you want to say about the course that you could point people to your website or how they can start learning more about the course? I know on your website you have a lot of information.
Emily's good at all that stuff.
Well, our website is circleofa.org. It's short for Circle of Atonement. And on the site, we have a lot of resources. The Circle was founded in 1993, so we have over 30 years of course resources to help people walk this path. And on the site, there is what's called the Knowledge Hub, and that's all of our free resources, all the best free resources that we have available here at the Circle. And then if you want to go deeper into your course studies, we have a membership community called Course Companions, and you can learn more about that at coursecompanions.com.
And we
Go
have
ahead.
a free app for A Course in Miracles. So A Course in Miracles itself is a big book, but we have a free app that you can put on your phone. You can read everything. There's audio. You can do searches. There's practice reminders for the workbook lessons. So we just
The
have a ton of
the
resources.
app is, if you go on Google Play or the Apple App Store and look up Circle of Atonement, it'll come up. It's purple, but you can also access it on your desktop again for free at acimce.app.
Nice. I didn't know you had an app. That's
Two of them.
awesome.
Yeah.
Two of them. That's
Okay.
Yeah.
wonderful.
One's for our online community, one's for the book.
Well, I loved having you guys here. I want to have you back sometime to talk more about forgiveness. I think it's a topic that we could use a lot more of. I also wanted to say before we go that I was introduced by Robert to the Course in Miracles. I am not a diligent student. So I just want to clarify that I am not. But because I have read it, I know how much of what the Course teaches has filtered into society, in other churches, in other spiritual journeys, in everyday life. Some of the words that are in the Course will just show up and I'll be like, interesting. And then I've asked some people, even a reporter that I had work with me on a project, she was using some of the Course language, and I went, oh, do you study the Course? And she goes, what? And she didn't, and then I told her about it. She didn't know what I was talking about. So she had picked that up somewhere. So it does travel. I find it very interesting.
I hope it travels deeper and wider.
Because we are devoted to getting it out there, traveling.
Yeah.
Well, we need more of it right now. This forgiveness thing is huge. And the fact that the Course actually has a way to do it, which I don't know if anyone else really does that I've seen.
There's a whole kind of psychology of forgiveness with different people teaching. What the Course is unique in is setting forgiveness within a kind of different view of reality itself. And that different view then then makes forgiveness have real justification, so that rather than forgiving in spite of what really happened, you forgive out of an understanding of what was real in what happened.
That makes
so that,
sense.
to my experience, is unique, and it's everything.
Well, it feels softer. If for me, it's more palatable. It's easier to follow. So there are people that actually teach more of like psychological courses on forgiveness.
Sure. Since the late 80s, there's been a almost kind of like a small psychological field of forgiveness where they do forgiveness research. Started at the University of Wisconsin, and there's been a real kind of, I don't know if it's a resurgence, but there's been a real spread in the popularity of using forgiveness as not just a religious thing, but as a mental health practice. And I just personally, I think the Course is ahead of the game. I think that what's so hard for us about forgiving is it doesn't seem to make sense. Why would I let this go if they really did me wrong? And the Course has this huge, sophisticated answer to that, where you just don't understand how reality really is. If you saw that, then your anger wouldn't really make sense, even in the face of what you witnessed happening.
It's one of those things where you hear it and you think, that doesn't make any sense. That would be so hard. But you spend enough time swallowed up by your grievance and you realize that's actually the thing that's hard. Right. The thing that's hard is going through life so angry and so full of hate that's what's hard. And so if we could get to a place where forgiveness is a value, like no matter what's happened, we're going to try and find that place of forgiveness, then we're well on our way to the kind of healing we've been talking about in this conversation. But until and unless we hold forgiveness as a value versus the grievance as a value, then we won't get there. Then we'll just be back in eye for an eye territory.
Yeah, we wouldn't want to be there.
No,
We are there.
we wouldn't want to be, but yes. So it's a practice and it's something we value.
And when
Yeah.
you value it, you practice it,
Yeah.
right? If you, I mean, the course is full of all kinds of practices that get us to this place where we can change our perception from fear to love. And unless you hold the value of you want to get there, you're not going to do the practice. And so it starts with the what we call the proverbial better way moment, where you say, there must be a better way than all this hate. There must be a better way than all this contention and friction and violence. And until and unless we get to the place where we say, look, we've got to change, then we'll start to do the practice.
And how do you two continue on in this work all these years? What is your ability to overcome the hurdles and disappointments and the way to reach out to the world with your message?
Well, I mean, we probably both would want to speak to that because this is every day, all day for us. I think a few things. One is this is what we love doing. Another thing is that we feel that the course has an enormous amount to give the world. It's very small in its footprint right now, but it's because it's so different. And I think that sometimes those things that start small and are very different, they have the most to give the world. And also, we just carry a very deep conviction that we've been personally called, that there's something that we carry that we're meant to carry. That if we just don't do it, we don't know who will step up to do it. So yeah, it's every day. It's wondering how we can expand the mission and the influence. And it's not always easy, but it's the only thing we want to do.
So that helps.
Yeah.
It's everything. Yeah. Robert and I have very of a lot of shorthand, and one of our shorthand comments is, "This is Jesus." We really believe in the comment that the quote that you read rather earlier, where Jesus says, "If you want to be like me, you can. If you are not ready, I'll wait." This is world healing stuff. And if we don't share it, who will? And part of our work in sharing it is to try and find others who will. But the course is a very niche spiritual path right now, and it doesn't have the legitimacy yet of being one of those great spiritual traditions, but it can be. And we just feel very internally driven and called to do this work every day. And so it's never a question for either Robert or I of how do you find the motivation. It's every single day we just wake up and know that this is what we're supposed to do. And we're just lucky enough to have found each other, because working towards a purpose is fun when you have a partner. More fun when you have a partner.
It's way more fun. Yeah.
Yeah, way more fun and you just get farther.
That's true.
Yeah. Because we
We always
bring
say,
very different things
yeah,
and they mesh.
together we can do a lot more than we were able to do apart.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
That's amazing. Is there any last word that you would like to say about the course or forgiveness or anything before we part?
You're good at last words, Emily. What do you think?
Well, the only thing that I would say is just how moved I am by the fact that 30 years ago, Robert wrote you a letter that remains in your heart and your mind to this day. And that is an example of the power of love and the power of showing up for each other. And that's all this life is really about. It doesn't matter what job you go to every day. At the end of the day, we all have the same career. And it's showing up for each other with these kinds of expressions of love. And so it's an honor for me to be part of a small part of the friendship that's here. And so I may it continue, and may we continue to keep showing up for each other in big and small ways.
That was the best way to end I could ever think of. Thank you so much, Emily. That was amazing. She was the right person for the job.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you, Robert and Emily Perry. I hope to see you in person real soon.
That would be
Definitely.
great.
Thank you.
Yeah, and keep up the work, keep up the mission. It's working. It's working.
We're getting
Always.
there.
All right. Bye from America Lost and Found.
Bye-bye.